Welcome to Known and Trusted. I'm so privileged today to have a guest to come and share her story about her hindsight and what we can all learn from her experience. Would you please tell us what life was like before the grooming began?
Yeah, absolutely. Life before the grooming. I was the kind of kid who was scared to ask the waiter for ketchup at a restaurant. That was who I was. I feel like that perfectly encapsulates who I was as a child. I was so shy, so awkward, so timid, very unsure of myself, very scared of life, scared of being seen, scared of being heard. And yeah, that was me. I was a really good child, very big rule follower. I mostly did not question authority. Like if a teacher or an adult or anybody told me to do something, I was pretty good at following rules, and I was like, "All right, an adult says that I should do that. I'm going to do that." I think it came a lot from my background. I'm Hispanic, and so my dad, he grew up in that traditional Mexican kind of household, and so a lot of those values came down, and one of those is like you don't question your elders, like you follow the rules and all that kind of stuff. So I really got that from my culture. It's funny because I listened to your last episode with Sarah, and she talks about how her parents were in the Marines, and my dad was also a Marine.
Hmm.
And that also added, I think, a lot to how strict our household was and how we got disciplined and things like that. So, yeah, I was a really good kid, but I sometimes question if I was a good kid because I was a good kid or if I was a good kid because I just didn't want to get in trouble. So that was me. My relationship with my parents was pretty okay, but we didn't really have privacy in our household. My parents, especially my mom, she could just walk in your room anytime, unannounced. She can start looking through your stuff. She would always occasionally like grab my phone and look through my text messages without asking. She was just like reading everything that I was doing. Was always like before, like when MySpace was a thing and I really wanted a MySpace, like she would get on my MySpace and she would like check out who I was talking to and all that kind of stuff. So I learned pretty young to hide stuff from my parents because I just didn't want them. I knew at any given moment, like they would come in or they would see something. So I learned pretty quickly to hide things from my parents, especially myself, my personal life, my feelings. And yeah, so that was who I was growing up.
Did you have any siblings?
I did, yeah. I have two older siblings and one younger sibling. So the two older siblings were all 2 years apart, so 4 years apart from the oldest. And then my younger sibling is 7 years younger than me. So kind of grew up in a really different household than all of us. Sometimes she'll be like, I feel like I have totally different parents from the parents that you guys had. I'm like, yeah, yeah, girl, you do.
It's a new landscape.
Yep, they learned a lot, and I think they shifted and changed and grew. We never are jealous of my little sister. She got, I think, the best version of our parents. Yeah.
And how did you meet the person who ended up playing a really big part of this walk towards putting things back together?
So the person in my life was my band director, my high school band director. So I started band when I was in the 6th grade, and I only joined band because my mom told me to join band, which was another thing I connected with on the last episode. Was like her mom told her to join band, and my mom told me to join band. It was crazy. But my mom, she got pregnant when she was in high school, so she didn't get to finish high school, but she would always say how much fun she had in marching band. And she was like, please, please, because my older two siblings didn't want to be in band, so they weren't in band. And her chances of becoming a band mom were dwindling. And I really was intent on I really wanted to just try it out for the year. I had a pretty big bullying issue growing up. So a lot of it was mostly guys. Guys weren't very kind to me growing up. So I had a lot of trouble in that department. So when I thought about band, I was like, well, if I join band, I kind of assumed that bullying's going to get worse because my knowledge of band was what I saw in the movies. I was like, band geeks like get their heads dunked in toilets and all this other like they're, getting wedgied and stuff. I was like, I don't want that for myself. I already have issues. So I really just wanted to try it out for the year. But of course, I fell in love with it. I became obsessed with band, with music. Beforehand, I was such a sporty person. Still am, but uh, I was doing kung fu. My dad had us doing boxing, so we were always doing like really athletic stuff. And so I just the arts didn't really call to me until I joined band, and it spoke to me and my feelings in a way that sports just couldn't. And yeah, it became my outlet for, my feelings and, being creative and all that fun stuff. So I became obsessed with band. So I had met the high school band director a few times when I was in middle school. We did occasionally like a middle school night. So we would go up to the high school and we would march with them and kind of experience a life in the band as a high schooler. So I met him a few times. He was always really funny and wacky and always trying to get a laugh and, running around and joking and skipping. Like he was very, very childlike. So he stood out immediately because for me, I had never seen a teacher being so fun. I'd never seen a teacher, acting so really childlike, but I had never seen someone like that. And so he stood out immediately. So I think I was about in the 7th grade when I first met him.
Did most of the other children also have that perception of him, that he was fun and the energetic young
Oh yeah.
band director?
Oh yeah. He was the cool teacher, but he was cool because he cussed a lot. He was very vulgar. He made like sexual jokes all the time, but he did it in a way where he was being kind of like, oh, I'm going to tell the tuba guys this funny joke. And then, it kind of, I think it's weird because I ask myself that question all the time of did everyone notice it or was it just
Mm.
me because I was so close to him? But as I've kind of done a lot of investigating since I've been on my healing journey and yeah, a lot of people have the same perception of him. He was at competitions like hanging from trees and like doing all this weird and wacky stuff. He was just super, super fun. But in that same vein, he also had another side to him, which was the angry side. And he was known to get very, very angry. So, if you weren't picking up a concept, if you were out of time, if you were not in uniform, like he was yelling at you, he was in your face, he was jumping up and down until his face turned blue. Like he was quite scary, actually. But because I'm from Texas, so that Texas marching band culture kind of was the norm. I don't know that all schools were like that in Texas to that extreme, but he came from, do you know what drum corps is? Okay. Drum corps, think of it as like kind of professional marching band. So
For
it's
adults or high
for
schoolers?
kind of, I think there's an age cutoff. So it's like, I think you can be like 16, I could be wrong, but 16 to about 24, maybe. Yeah, I know there's an age cutoff somewhere. But yeah, drum corps was something that was only available to brass players and percussionists and the color guard. So you couldn't be a woodwind player and join drum corps. So I was a flute player, so I could never do drum corps, but he was a tuba player. So he had come from a really popular DCI group, drum corps group. And he brought a lot of those values and a lot of that culture to our band program. So it was very serious.
Was that an upgrade then for the school? Like the school's clearly bringing in somebody with deep knowledge of how to compete and how to be a show band in so many ways.
I don't know that it was something that they knew about. I don't know if the administration was like, oh, he has drum corps experience. Like, this is a big plus for us. But he just was very good with the band, that he was very in with the administrators. They loved him. We were winning things, we were doing great things, and he wasn't even the head band director. He was the assistant band director at this time, but he was in charge of the marching band area of our band program, so he got a lot of praise for that aspect of us.
Kind of highly regarded within the community.
Yeah. So another kind of tidbit about like his presence there was I went to a school that was pretty new. It was newly built, newly opened. So when by the time I got there, I want to say it had been open for about 5 or 6 years, maybe a year more. So he started that band program from the ground up. So it was his baby, him and the head band director's baby. So they had been there since the beginning. So there was never a time when it wasn't his. It was always his. And I think the administration saw how well he did, how quickly we started winning stuff, how quickly we became quite a large band program. We were a 6A school. In Texas, but for Texas and the area that we were in, we were still a little bit smaller than those really big schools. Some band programs had, 300, 400 band kids, and we had maybe a little under 200. But we were doing very, very, very well. So he was very well liked with the parents, very well liked with the administration, and very, very, very well liked by the kids. We loved him. So anytime he got angry, it was not for us, it was not, oh my gosh, what's wrong with him? Why is he screaming at us? Why is he like spitting in our faces? He's so close. Like, what is he doing? It was always like, what did we do? We disappointed him. We have to do better. We must do better. My gosh. And so he always turned it back on us somehow. We were always just disappointed in ourselves. So that was the kind of guy he was. Actually, there's this one incident I think about all the time. So many of us thought about it. It's the only time a kid ever talked back to him that I remember. And we were outside, we were doing an exercise on the field. And it was a new kid. He was either a freshman or he was a transfer student. And he was not grasping this concept, whatever exercise we were doing. He just couldn't get it. And instead of being a nice, kind, gentle teacher, he was yelling at this kid in his face, clapping in his face, like just getting so angry with this kid. And the kid looks at him and he goes, "Fuck you." And all of us stopped. We were like, oh my God, I can't believe someone just said that to him. And so he looks at the kid and he just yells at him, "Get off my field." And that was it. That was the only time anybody ever snapped anybody. And that kid, poor kid, he quit band. He never did band again. That was
I would quit too.
the end of his band career, never touched his clarinet ever again. But yeah, that was the only time I remember someone really snapping back at him. Other than that, he had everyone's full respect. I remember being told a lot by my siblings too. They were like, you guys are more like a Marine, like a military group out there, you guys, because everything was so serious. We had these really crazy rules that had to be followed, and if you did not follow them, you would get in such big trouble. One of them being when we had our shakos on, which is just the hat, the fancy little hat with the thing on it. Whenever we had shakos on, we could not talk. Another one we had is we had inspections before competitions and before games. So if you did not pass inspection 100%, then you were out. You had to go home. Unless somebody obviously could help you fix whatever, like if your socks were wrong, you'd have to go home. Unless somebody could help you get better socks, or if you didn't have, I don't know, just anything out of the ordinary, you had to go home. So we had a lot of those as well. And then we had a lot of like weird traditions that he started too that were kind of funny. One of them was massage train. So massage train, which was at a competition or a game, after we did our warm-ups, after we did our stretches and stuff, to kind of calm us down before a performance, everybody would get in one long train and massage each other. I hated massage train. I always did, because it was a way for the guys to, touch a girl that they were really into. Like that was kind of what massage train was used for a lot of the time.
And was the coach also massaging? Did he participate in the train or he
No,
would
he
watch?
didn't. He just would watch. Yeah, the teachers were never a part of the massage train, it was always just the kids. But he was definitely the one who started it. I don't know if he, again, adopted that from his drum corps experience or whatnot, but it was one of the things I immediately clocked even as a kid to be weird. I was like, "Why are we all massaging each other?"
I'm just trying to sort of picture myself there.
Mhm.
Are parents staying around for these practices? Do we have other teachers who come and watch? Are there other practices going on? Because I imagine a field has, maybe a sport practice happening nearby and then another practice. Were
Yeah.
these out in public and done sort of in the supervision of others, or was it something that became more tucked away? Give us a little bit of a sense of who could be watching on or supervising.
Every single thing that we ever did, our field, I mean, so let me start there. Every single thing we ever did was always monitored and watched by people. Our field, like our practice field, we had like a street that, like a stoplight right by it. So we always had cars passing by that they would open their windows and like listen to us as we practiced. So that was really cute and cool. But again, everybody, like it was always, we were always being watched. We had 4 total band directors because we were a larger school. So we had the head band director at the time, then the assistant band director, which was him. Then we had a percussion director, and then we had a color guard director. And they were all very aware of the kind of guy that he was. To my knowledge, they never questioned or stopped him when he was getting very crazy and erratic and, yelling at people very intensely. Like they just never, they didn't care. I assume they didn't care because they just didn't say anything. We always had parent chaperones around. We had a band booster club, which was composed of all parents, and they were around a lot of the time, like having meetings and stuff. His behavior and the way that he treated all of us was always known. Everyone always knew it, including my parents. My parents saw it, but again, I think, and I don't want to assume this about them, but I think that they were the kind of parents at the time where they believed a little bit of tough love. And I think that's kind of how they saw it, was tough love. He wants you to be better. He wants to work your ass off. He wants you to be the best that you can be. And I think that's how everyone saw it in his behavior. But the sexual jokes, even that stuff, I mean, that stuff was very well known. Like you would make those around everybody. Those sexual jokes were, it became so normal that nobody questioned it. Like if he would constantly make joke like this is so crazy. I had a conversation with a girl that I went to high school with, and she was also experiencing, digesting and understanding what we had all gone through. And she said she learned anal sex from him, like what anal sex was and all that from him. And that was very just a normal thing that we all learned. I remember there was a really, really vulgar, like sexual position or something that a lot of the seniors were talking about around the freshmen. And I did not know sex. Like I ran far from that conversation. Any topic that included sex, I made me so uncomfortable. And so those seniors, they were having this conversation with us. And it was probably within my first 2 weeks of band camp, my freshman year, that this happened. And he came out of his office because he heard them talking about this really crazy thing. And I thought, thank goodness he's going to come out here and he's going to save the day. Nope, not even a little bit. He did not. He always egged that stuff on. He thought it was funny. He added to it. I think at the time, though, whenever people would start talking to me about sex, he oddly had this protectiveness over me. So he'd come up and he'd say, "Leave her alone. She's so innocent. Let's keep her that way. You guys just don't talk to her about that stuff." That was what he did a lot of my first year. But it was okay for him to do it. So if he was talking to me about sexual stuff, that was fine. But if he saw someone else talking to me about sexual stuff, "Leave her alone. Don't talk to her about that stuff." And I was like, okay, get a little whiplash, but all right.
So
Um,
At
Yeah.
this time, do you have any feelings of being chosen or standing out from the other kids? An example like that makes me think I would feel like like a protected student amongst all of these reckless children. You know, here's the band director looking out for me. He cares about me. Did it feel like care at the time?
Yes, it did. It very, very much did. He also did this thing my first year a lot. I mean, he was the kind of teacher that always had kids in his office. And I mean not just in his office, but I mean lounging on the chairs, on the desk, on the floor, like it was always packed in there. And he had his favorites, so it was usually the favorites in there. But if there were kids in his office, and again, you have to remember, like little old me was scared to be seen, scared to be heard. So he would go out of his way and he would grab me by the shoulder, grab me by the elbow, whatever, pull me in his office so that I could be a part of the conversation. So he was a big reason why I was able to make friends, especially that first year, because he was always pulling me in. Like he wanted me to join in on all the fun and make friends and all this stuff. So that first year, he did that a lot for me. And at the time, I remember feeling just so seen for the first time, even though it was the opposite of what I thought I ever wanted was to be seen. But then it started happening with him. And I was like, oh my gosh, wait, somebody wants to see me. Like he wants me to be a part of all of this. Like how sweet, how kind. So yeah, that first year, I felt really special. Really, I knew I was a favorite, or at least becoming a favorite. There was another girl at the time who was the ultimate favorite. I'll call her the ultimate favorite just so we know who she is. But there was a girl that year. She was the ultimate favorite. She was a senior at the time that I was a freshman, and he was always, 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 always around her. They had like this running joke. I don't really know why it was so funny, but he had this running joke for her that she was dumb. So he would kind of tell the band, like, oh, tell the ultimate favorite, she's dumb. Everybody, like, she doesn't even know how to put her clarinet together or whatever. So he was always doing that. So he was doing things publicly, right?
Teasing,
Yeah,
teasing
he was
publicly.
teasing her publicly, making her feel, I mean, I think everyone feel like she was a favorite. Like we knew it. But it never bothered me that first year and I never thought anything weird about it. I was just like, oh, he has his favorites. She's a favorite. Okay, cool. He had a group of girls that year called Air Force One that I think, if I remember correctly, they got to like ride on his bus the first year, even though we had assigned buses. So yeah. So yeah, and they were called Air Force One. I wonder why. So he always did stuff like that. And then at the end of my first year, he told me that he wanted me to be his drum major. And yeah, he was like, when you're a sophomore next year, you're going to be my drum major. And I was like, oof, no, no, I don't want to do that because drum major was, I knew a leader. I was no leader. Again, I would have to be in front of the band, not something that I wanted to do. So I told him, I don't want to do that. He said, just think about it because you're going to be my drum major. So I was his drum major the next year. And that is when things really, really started kicking off was that next year. That girl, the ultimate favorite, she graduated and she was, no longer in the band program. I want to say almost immediately that she joined staff, like the band staff, because we always had marching band techs. And it was usually composed of recently graduated students who were going to pursue music education. So she was on, the route for music ed. So she came back, I think, every year until I was a senior to help on the band staff. So she was always around. We'll get back to her because she's important. So that year, I was kind of his right hand man. People would come up to me when they wanted to know what state of mind he was in. Oh, is he in a good mood today? Like, what are we doing today? Like, is he okay? Can I go in there? I was kind of like his assistant. His office became my office. We even made a sign on a chair that said that this was my chair. Yeah, it became very, very obvious that I think that I was the new ultimate favorite. And
what is sophomore year feeling like? If we could go back in time, what is happening internally? You've gotten this promotion on the team,
Yeah.
you are being seen, you have a position of leadership. The band director is not only recognizing you, but then propelling you and
Yeah.
making space for you in his office and in a public scene. What is this feeling like? Is this feeling like privilege and joy and care and love and the building of a relationship? Or is this feeling like it doesn't quite fit, or it's a little bit weird, or is everything kind of in the mix? And as a follow up, what would somebody else notice? I
Mhm.
mean, the sign on the chair is fantastic.
Yeah.
What could some of the adults around you that sophomore year or around him, what could they have noticed? What could they have seen that maybe people were ignoring or didn't choose to recognize at that time?
Yeah. That year was the first year where I acknowledged that there was a feeling inside of me. Um, I thought he was doing what any good teacher would do, which is make you feel safe and make you feel seen. And for the first time, I was feeling that way about an adult, about someone that I really, really like thought cared about me.
I thought I almost heard you say some.
I this was the first time that I recognized that I was starting to develop a little bit of a crush on this teacher. Um, and it almost felt like he was flirting with me at times. I but at the time, every single moment that came up where it seemed as though he was flirting with me, I would tell myself,
Squash it.
you're being a stupid little girl. Stop it." He would never do
Choose.
that. Like, yeah, he would never choose you. It would never even like, are you crazy? Are you crazy?" So that was a lot of sophomore year, was me acknowledging what was the feeling inside me while also telling myself, you're crazy for even thinking that that wink or that touch or that whatever it is more than just he's a teacher that cares about you. So that was how I was feeling. I was always in his office, always sitting around, just always whenever we'd clean the band hall, he would always say, "You're going to help me clean my office." So I would go with him while everybody else cleaned the band hall, and I would help him fix his things. I knew how he liked things in his desk. I knew how he organized his stuff. I knew exactly my role and like what to clean and what to do. And so I it's hard to say if there was anything that the adults around could have noticed was weird or different, because in a lot of ways I was still very camouflaged and I blended in with the culture and the environment that he had made and crafted for himself within the band program. So it was really hard to look at me, especially that sophomore and junior year, like anything was different, because he always had his favorites. He always had students hanging in his office. There was nothing, again, even with me until senior year, there was nothing that was ever done behind closed doors. Everything was always out in the open. And all that, inappropriate talk, all that inappropriate, even minus the sexual stuff, him just yelling at kids, like not having patience for kids, getting, so angry. All of that stuff was all out in the open. So again, I think when someone like me came along where the situation was different, it almost just looked the same as everything else.
I liked what you just said. I was listening to you.
Mhm.
It becomes very clear that this is his little universe and
Yes.
he has crafted it. He was given a lot of responsibility. He's built it.
Yeah.
And it also sounds like a lot of people kind of left him alone to develop these relationships with kids. And his open door policy with the students seems very warm. The thing that stands out in your story is when everybody else is doing the grunt work, you
Mhm.
have this sort of special status. You get isolated from your peer group. You get And I know you had a position and maybe the intentional agenda sort of now in hindsight looking back, because he couldn't have done the grooming as effectively out in the public with all my friends
Mhm.
and the rest of the band looking on. And what it does to a young child, especially during adolescence, when we're all trying to figure out, where do I belong? Where do I have value? Who values me? To have a band director who says, you're going to go places. I have a role for you. Come with me, feels really intoxicating.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, anytime I started to doubt myself, I can't be a leader. I can't do this. Like I can't make friends. I can't whatever it was. He was always there. Always, always there. And I think and I know that this is a universal experience that happens a lot, but he was my favorite person ever. Like ever, my favorite person ever. That year I really felt as though he was my best friend. I told him everything. This is kind of important. I had a boyfriend at the time. I started a relationship my freshman year with this boy who was a junior at the time. So he was a little bit older. So throughout my whole, like my 3 years, I had a boyfriend. But that boyfriend also never saw anything wrong with anything. He, I think, also really, really loved our band director. So anytime I was alone with our band director, he was just like, he's so
Jealous.
cool and
Yeah,
yeah,
he must have
you
been
get to hang
jealous.
out with him and so this whole time I had a boyfriend too. So when we were hanging out, not the boyfriend, but me and my teacher, when we were alone together and like cleaning his office, I would always share things with him about, my boyfriend and, the troubles that we had and family troubles at home and friend troubles, like anything. I mean, my teacher heard it all and he was there to help me. He was always there to help me pick up the pieces. He was just always there. And this year, he didn't share a whole lot about himself. It was always just me sharing myself with him.
He was a confidant.
Yes, he was definitely a confidant. I was having some issues with a girl in band that year. She was texting me some pretty mean stuff. It's funny because we're really good friends now, but at the time she was texting me some really mean stuff, and I remember going to his office and just crying to him about it. And the way it's so hard to talk about now because I know that I would never associate myself with someone like this, but the way that he talked about other people that he didn't like was very intense. So when I told him about this girl, which is a girl he already didn't like, he would say, she's a fucking bitch. She's batshit crazy. She's never going to find a man that's going to be able to like handle her. She's the worst. She doesn't work hard.
And this is a high schooler.
This is a high schooler who's a sophomore, so probably like 15 years old, and he's at this time maybe 33 years old, saying this about her. And so it was always intense, but it was to make me feel better, I think. But also, I do think that he felt this way about certain people, especially her, because she was the kind of girl that like questioned authority and like pushed back and was like, "Don't talk to me like that," but always like in a joking way and like stayed in band. And so he just didn't like her. So yeah, I think that added to his hatred of and fueled the fire of like, you don't need her and you're so much better than her and you're going to get so far in life and she's not and just all this stuff. So he would always talk about people he did not like in a very nasty, nasty, nasty way all the time. So I did hear a lot of that too this year. So I did lie a little bit. He opened up about the students he did and didn't like. That was probably the most that I got to hear in terms of like his mind and what he thought. He would always tell me which students he liked, which ones he thought was funny. And then of course the students that he hated and didn't like, the weird kids. He was like, these kids are weird. So
Did he have an opinion about your boyfriend?
yes, me and my boyfriend at the time were very on and off. I think my boyfriend really wanted to break up with me, but then would always come crawling back eventually. So I think he just wanted to end things. And it wasn't very obvious to me. I was just, I'm in love and he's the best and I'm going to marry him and all this stuff. And my teacher was always telling me how much better I could do and that he doesn't treat me the way that I should be treated. That was probably the gist of it. He never went further than that, just At times, like if I was really, really upset, he would say that he was a piece of shit, but he would not go further than that. That was pretty much his opinion of my boyfriend.
And at this time, you mentioned that the girl was texting you mean things.
Mhm.
This teacher have your phone number? Are you communicating outside of time when
Mm,
you're physically in school, or all your communication and contact is only during school hours and performances?
yeah, all of our contact was only at school. I was at school. I was at school in the band hall before school, during school, after school, on the weekends. We were always constantly like having band events. So I was constantly around him, but no, we never texted. I think it was my junior year where I got his phone number because I think he gave it to me because I was working an event for something and I was representing the school. And so I was going alone. And so he wanted to make sure, like, if I needed anything, I could reach out to him. So I think that was the first time I got his phone number. But no, I never used it, and he never used it to text me or anything like that. It was strictly just during school. He had a way to talk to the band through this app. So if he needed to send out a message quickly to the band, he used this like school approved app to do it. So it wasn't like deemed inappropriate if he was texting the whole band as a whole. So um yeah, he was very careful about that kind of stuff. I mean, it's the end of my sophomore year, my head band director, he got promoted to director of fine arts for the school district or something. So the head band director position was open. And I asked him, "Are you going to be head band director?" He said, "No, no, 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 I don't want to do that. It's too much responsibility. Like, I like the role that I play right now. I don't want to do more paperwork. I don't want to do more this or whatever." And I was telling him, "I think you'd be a really, really great head band director." I didn't know what they did, but I was like, "You'd be in charge," and that sounds good to me. And so I had heard later that I believe the administration really wanted him to step into that role. And so I believe they asked him to be head band director. Like they really, really were pushing for it. And so he accepted. He became head band director at the end of my sophomore year. And then we ended up getting a new assistant band director who was this woman, and she did not like me, and I don't know why, or I at the time, I didn't know why. I think
What gave you evidence that she was not liking you very much?
she was not very kind to me at the time. She would speak to me as though I was always bothering her. She thought that I was, and I can't remember how I know this. I don't know if it was that she told me or that my teacher told me, but that I was like a kiss ass and that I was like a teacher's pet or something. So she, I think, noticed how much I wanted to be around, but I don't know that she noticed anything with him, like that he was different with me or anything like that. I think it was always just like, this girl, she's always around us. She's like, get her out of here. So yeah, that was hard too. Because I think it kind of changed the dynamic between my teacher and I a little bit because I remember trying to distance myself, trying to be a little bit better about it because she was always just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you around so much? So, but she didn't last very long. She ended up leaving pretty quickly. So that it didn't last very long at all. But my
Now that you look back, is
Mhm.
there any thought about her going about it the wrong way, but her trying to be protective of you by trying to create space?
It is my belief that she felt something was off. I feel that in my bones. I haven't spoken to her about it. I have seen her and spoken to her, and she has changed her tune since then. We're pretty good now, but I believe it's just my perception that she felt something was off, and I do think she went about it the wrong way. But again, he was really, really, really good at making friends and like it was hard despite everything I've said about him because it's crazy to hear all the jokes and the yelling and the screaming, but despite all that, it was hard not to like him. Like, people clung to him, adults included. Like, the parents really enjoyed his presence. You know, all the directors were really good friends. They were always hanging out. The band staff were always hanging out. Yeah, everybody loved him. I think he had a fantasy football thing that he would do with the staff and stuff. So, like, he was, like, really beloved and really cool, and people were always at his house, and, like, yeah, he was the cool guy. It was impossible not to like him.
Is he
Mhm.
in a relationship? Is he married? Does he have kids? Is he single? What's his status during the time that you're in these high school years?
Yes, my junior year, um, is when I learned about all of that. He had told me my junior year that he had been married before and that he had gotten divorced. He never told me what happened with her, just that he whatever had happened between them had ruined marriage for him. Like, he did not want to get married again. She was just so awful. Marriage was awful. So he was, in my eyes at the time, was single. He didn't have a girlfriend. He didn't have a wife anymore. He was very single. My junior year was when our relationship really kind of shifted again. I think every single year we were around each other, it always got a little bit more intense. So my junior year, we were I was learning a little bit more about him. He was sharing more personal details. He had issues with the percussion director at the time. He wouldn't say why, but he would say stuff like, this teacher, the name of the teacher is he's recording our conversations. Like, he's trying to get me fired. And I would say, what for? Like, why? And he's like, I don't know. He hates me and I hate him and he's the worst. And so, yeah, it was odd, and he just wouldn't, but I never pushed. If he told me even like, showed me a glimpse of anything from him, I never asked for more because I knew my place at the time. I was like, I'm just a kid. You tell me, like, share what you want to share with me. Anytime he shared anything, I was happy. I was happy to listen, happy to know more. He started getting me, not a lot, but he would start getting me gifts this year, like small stuff. He ended up going to a football game, and he brought me back like a souvenir. It was socks from the game. And so he started, oh, do you want lunch? I can buy you lunch. Every now and again, he started, giving me things occasionally. He asked me to join floor crew, which was a the color guard, the ones who do the flags. We had a winter guard. So when marching season ended, we switched to winter guard for them. And they just did some like indoor stuff. And so floor crew was mostly made of guys who would help the color guard girls with their flags and the floor, like rolling out the floor, kind of doing like manual labor. And so junior year, he asked me to join floor crew to take pictures. He was like, you can come with us on the trips. It'll be really fun. We go to all the competitions and we find an empty classroom and we just hang out. We just hang out all day together. Like, that's what floor crew does. And I only pick like the cool kids. So you're part of the cool kids. And I remember thinking, cool, yeah, I want to do it. I want to be on floor crew. So, and we did exactly that. We would go to these competitions. We would wander around these high schools, like these random high schools, like he would go like room to room trying to find an open room so that we can like set up camp in there. And so, yeah, and everyone who had been on floor crew had been on floor crew for a while. So they brought pillows and like blankets and like games. Yeah, it was crazy.
I don't like
And
this.
yeah, and so the first time I went on a competition, like, I didn't bring anything because I didn't know what to expect. And so I remember this one time I I was like really cold and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's so cold in here." And he took off his sweater and he was like, "Here, use my sweater. Take my sweater. Come sit by me. Like, let's hang out together." And so on these floor crew competition trips, I was always like hanging around him, and this was the year I felt like
Like the
I
ultimate favorite.
the ultimate favorite, but when I would tell myself, like, he's not flirting with you, I almost just didn't believe myself anymore. Like, I wanted to believe that I was special. At this point in time, my crush had grown from like the teeniest, tiniest little thing to just so, I mean, it was so overwhelming how much I really enjoyed his presence. Like he was just my favorite person in the whole world. And so whenever he like gave me his sweater and stuff, like I just felt really special and really good about any of it. There was no like red flags going up in the air for me. I just was thinking, I'm going to cherish this moment that I have with him. It's not going to last forever because not a thought in my mind about anything ever being able to change. You know how girls have celebrity crushes and sometimes it's an older man. So at the time for me, it was James Franco, which did not age well. But at the time for me, it was James Franco. I was like, I really love James Franco. Like, he's so cute. You know, Spider-Man. He was in Spider-Man. And I had told him, I don't remember why. It had come up that I had my celebrity crush was James Franco. And he goes, you know, you have a thing for older men. And I said, I don't do. He said, yeah, you have a thing for older men. I don't know if you know this, but you have a thing for older men. And I didn't fight it because in my head, I also knew that the crush for him existed. So then I started thinking, well, maybe I have a thing for older men? Like, is this a me thing? Like, am I the like weird one here?
This is also 16-year-old you.
Yes, I was also 16 years old. And apparently I have a thing for older men.
Did he say that in front of other people, or were you two by yourselves?
No, that moment happened just us. The door was open, but like, yeah, that was just an us moment. There was another thing that year, yeah, where there were some of the kids on floor crew were surrounding him. We were waiting for our parents to pick us up. And the kids were like I think they were freshmen or sophomores at the time. They said, you're like our dad. Like you take care of us and you just protect us. Like, you're like our dad. You're so cool. And I remember thinking at the time, I was like, you're not like my dad. And so I was like, well, I looked at him, I go, maybe like my older brother or something. And he looks at me and he says, no, not even like your older brother. And then immediately turned away from me. I was like, what does that mean? Wait, not even like your older brother. It's like, but you were just telling these kids, yeah, I'm like your dad. I was like, what does that mean for me? Like, what are you to me? I think I just started feeling really, really confused this year, where I was questioning my sanity of, is this really something, or like, what does that mean? There was another thing that I wanted to mention. So remember that girl, the ultimate favorite from my freshman year?
Who came back to be part of staff?
Yeah, she came back to be part of staff. There was a moment my junior year where he told me, I'm going to this concert with Ultimate Favorite. We're going to see the band Train. Man, I really wish you were going. Like, it would be so much funner if you were going. And I couldn't even focus on the part where he said he was going to a concert with the Ultimate Favorite. I was only focused on the part where he said, I wish you were going. Like, it'd be so fun if you were going. And because I also too at the time, like, I knew he hung out with graduated students. It was something that I looked forward to when I graduated. He was friend, like all of his friends were graduated students. Probably his only friends aside from the other band directors, but his only friends were graduated students. He was always going on like road trips with them and going to concerts and seeing the world with them and stuff. So yeah, even at this point where it's like he's going to this concert with this girl by himself was nothing weird to me about it at the time. And then at the end of my junior year, he said, "Hey, if you need anything over the summer, you have my phone number. You can reach out to me if you need me for anything." And I said, okay, yeah. I think he said it because this whole junior year, my boyfriend at the time, he was now in college and he was not being a good boyfriend. He was not calling me, not texting me. We would go like a week to a week and a half without talking to each other because he just wasn't texting me back. Spoiler alert, he was cheating on me. But at the time, I was just like, what is happening? What is going on? And so I was always kind of in his office crying about it. Like, what's wrong? Like, what's wrong with me? Like, why isn't he, talking to me, texting me? And of course he's like, he's a piece of shit. You don't need him, all that stuff. So at the end of the year, he says, if you need anything, reach out to me. Just let me know. Cut to summertime, and my boyfriend breaks up with me um, after 3 years. And so my little heart shattered into a million pieces,
As it does.
as it does. And it felt really big. I had no idea how to handle it. I didn't know I could feel that much. So I was crying and crying and crying. I felt like I couldn't talk to my parents about it because my parents didn't like him. They thought he was too old for me because he was 3 years older than me. So I was 13 when I started dating him. So he was 16 at the time, and so they just always thought he was too much older for me. Never liked him, and so I just didn't feel like I could talk to my parents about it. I had a friend at the time who I thought that I could turn to, but he was kind of over my crying. He tried his best, poor guy, but he was like, "All right, that's enough crying. You don't need to cry anymore." And I was like, "Yes, I do." And so I just thought, you know who I really, really want to talk to right now? Like, who I need to talk to. The person that would listen to me and make me feel better. My teacher, my band director. So I thought about that moment where he said, you could, reach out to me if you need me. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. So I think I texted him something very suspicious. I don't know, something about the breakup, I think. And he called me immediately. And I just cried and cried, and I told him about it. And little did I know he was on a road trip with the ultimate
Ultimate
favorite.
favorite.
Yeah. And another student that he had as a favorite. It was a guy, but he goes, I'm on this road trip. I'll call you back when I can. I'm so sorry. So he hangs up, and I'm like, he's not gonna call me back. Like, this is it. And so he did call me back, I think a day or two later. And he goes, "Hey, I'm going to be back in town tonight. I have to drop off this rental car. You should come with me." And I was like, I don't know. And he says, "No, no, no. I know. But I just want to help you feel better. I know you're having a tough time. I just want to help you feel better." And so I said, okay. At the time, my parents, this is going to sound weird, but my parents were on vacation without me. Uh, the reason why they were on vacation without me was because I didn't want to miss my last year of band camp. And so they went to Disney World, and I was at home with my older brother at the time, who he was already graduated. So he was over 18. He was doing his own thing. He wasn't really
He was
watching me.
babysitting. Yeah,
Yeah, he
he
was
was babysitting you.
babysitting, but he wasn't really babysitting me. So I kind of felt, up to this point with my parents, every single thing, anytime I went out, it was who, what, when, where, why. And it was
Good
the
parents.
first, yeah, it was parents, which makes sense. Totally. And it was the first time where I didn't need to do that. And it kind of just felt like the stars were aligning. And so I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. I'll go with you. So I made a plan to meet. We meet, and the whole time, like, I'm getting in his car and we're driving out of this Walmart parking lot, the only thing I can think about is I'm so scared someone's going to see us because I don't want them to think that it's something that it's not. I was terrified. I was way more on edge than he was. He seemed cool as a cucumber, and I was freaking out the whole time. Just like, oh my gosh, like, everybody I know goes to this Walmart, like, because right by the school. And so it just kind of felt like, one, a dumb meetup, but two, I just was terrified of it looking like it was something that it's not. I just kept saying that to myself. I don't want anyone to think it's something that it's not. And so we ended up driving to the rental car place, and he's like, give it to me, let me hear it, like, let's talk about it. And so almost immediately, once I started talking about it, it felt like we were back in his office. What what we were always doing, except now we're just in his car. So all that panic and anxiety that I had originally just kind of disappeared once I started talking to him and once I knew, like, okay, I'm safe now. Like, it's good. We're okay. And
And you had had 2 years to practice holding him as a confidant.
yep.
So this was
Mhm.
a usual role for you
Yeah.
to be the one sort of pouring out your heart, and he would hold space.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. So we drop off the rental car. He's taking me back to my car. We're probably like 5 minutes out from him dropping me off. And he turns to me and he says, I want to tell you something. I said, okay, what's up? He says, I am feeling ways for you that are not ethically or morally right. He says it just like that. And my heart stopped. I was like, but he also said it in a funny way, and I was like, "Ethically or morally?" It's like, "Okay." So he knows it's wrong, right? He's acknowledging that. I was like, "I think I can acknowledge, like, what I feel as well." But I think I was so shocked, I didn't say anything for a little bit, and he says, "So I guess the question is, how do you feel about me?" More silence. I always think back to this moment because I remember it being so odd, him saying, ethically and morally. I was like, what are you talking about?" So there was more silence, and he says, "If you don't feel that way, it's okay. Like, I totally understand." And I said, "No, no, 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 no. I do. I do feel that way." And he says, oh, okay, we're just about turning into the Walmart. We're almost to my car. He also like saved it for the very end. So if it went bad, get out of my car. And he goes, he parks and he says, don't worry, nothing can happen until you graduate. I just had to let you know. Okay, thank you. Like, thank you for telling me. And I go home and I am flying high. I'm on cloud nine. Yep, I am just feeling so, so good. I was like, wow, it's actually real. Like, maybe everything that I experienced, he was also experiencing in those years. Like, maybe I wasn't so stupid after all. Maybe this was a real connection this whole time. And he couldn't say anything. And, I'm gonna start my senior year. I'm gonna graduate soon. Like, this is great. And so went home thinking, or sorry, I went home knowing that nothing was gonna change. I knew that in my heart. I was like, I know that. He said it. Nothing's gonna change. So much change. So much change. It was crazy. For a little bit, actually, everything felt the same. We just acknowledged the feelings. Band camp finally started. So I'm doing the regular thing. I'm like in his office. We're chatting the same as we've always been. Nothing felt different. Then we started taking drives after after rehearsal, after band camp ended. And band camp was 8 to 8, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And so, yeah. And then afterwards, I would tell my parents, oh, I'm staying after to like help clean the band hall, drum major stuff that I've always done, whatever. So they didn't question it. I think at this point, my parents had so much trust in me. I was the good kid. I never got in trouble, that they were like, you know what? You're in your senior year. If you want to hang out with the seniors a little bit more after rehearsal, we trust you. Go ahead. Like, you've been so great. We're so proud of you. Here's this little bit of freedom to do more stuff. So it kind of, again, I was like, what the heck? The stars are aligning. I can like go out and they're not even asking what I'm doing. So yeah, after rehearsals, we started driving around. It was our routine. We'd go to McDonald's. He'd get me a Dr. Pepper, and he'd get himself an unsweet tea, and we just talk and chat and have a good time. We never talked about our feelings. He never looked at me sweeter than usual. It was always like the same thing it's always been. Then, probably a couple days into that, he gives me his iPad and he says, I want to talk to you more. Like, here's my iPad. So we don't have to text on your phone. Here's my iPad and we can text on this. I said, okay, great. So we start texting very late into the night. Things get a little bit more, personal. We start talking about stuff that I really liked talking about, like deeper things. And with my old boyfriend, we didn't talk about deep stuff. He was a teenage boy. He didn't care about anything other than like, making out with me. But yeah, with him, with my teacher, it was a little bit deeper. It was like, do you believe in God? Why do you believe in God? Oh, you want to talk about the universe? Oh, you want to talk about the afterlife? Like it was like deep conversation. And I thought, whoa, he's something. Like he's great. Like this is amazing.
Are these conversations also video at that time or only text?
They're only text and voice
Photos?
call. No
No photos.
photos. Nope,
Okay.
no photos, just text and voice call. So we started staying up pretty late as well. We would talk like until like 3 a.m. So I was doing these long rehearsals, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Then we're driving around together and then we're calling each other late into the night. So it starts to feel a little bit more serious, but we're still not talking about feelings.
Are the gifts
Excuse me.
continuing? Obviously, the gift of the iPad is a big
Yeah.
deal.
Not yet, not yet. My birthday is in August, so they were are about to start. Band camp keeps happening. There's this boy who's a percussionist. He's a grade under me. Him and I had a small middle school romance once upon a time. And I just loved him. I was obsessed with him and he was obsessed with me and it was so cute. It was such a cute little relationship that we had at the time, probably just a few months. But his parents are really strict too, and they didn't let him have a phone. And so when I went off to high school, we decided to go our separate ways because I was like, I'm not going to see you or talk to you for a full year. I don't know if we should do this.
Long.
Yeah, it's too long. We can't do it. By the time he had gotten to high school, I was in this new relationship. So we never talked again. We never became friends again or anything. But then my senior year, when he was a junior, and then band camp was happening. I don't know if he like heard I was single, like or what, but we became friends again. It was just that, I was happy with where everything was at. My heart was still broken. My teacher was helping me mend it. I didn't really need anything else,
Did
but
you tell this friend that you had an iPad and that you were going on drives? Did any of your friends know about any element of that? It
no,
was
not at
top secret.
all. That is, we never had that conversation about this being a secret. Never, ever, ever did he say, don't tell anybody. Don't, whatever. Like, it was just a known thing from the moment he shared his feelings with me. I I think he knew how much I would die for him, essentially. I would go to bat for him. And he knew that. I knew that about myself. So I did not tell a soul. Nobody knew. So when I started becoming friends with this boy, some of the other drum majors took notice and I guess got the inside scoop and heard that he liked me. They're like, hey, he likes you, percussionist over there. You should give him a chance. And I was like, no. And my band director was around when that conversation happened. And he looks at the other drum majors and he goes, let's set them up. Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay.
I was
Okay.
like, what the heck is going on here? And I got really upset. So he starts pushing us together. He's publicly telling the band, oh, drum major, because the boy's name started with a C, and we had like chunks of the show that we would run, like chunk A, let's run chunk B. So whenever we got to chunk C, my band director would tell the band, all right, drum major's favorite chunk is, and then the band would yell, chunk C, because now everybody knew that he was trying to push us together.
Can I add one thing too?
Yes.
It imitates the ultimate favorite teasing that you
Mm-hmm.
shared at the very beginning. That when your teacher builds this strange dynamic with an identified targeted adolescent girl, that the
Mm-hmm.
public teasing
Yeah.
is seems
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. He was teasing a lot more too, like than he usually did with me, especially with this boy situation. So then I would come to him afterwards and I was like, what are you doing? Like, what the heck is going on? What are you doing? And he was like, it's just all fun and games. It's just funny. Like, I'm just being funny. And I was like, okay, weird for a guy that says he likes me. What are you doing? So he does not stop. He pushes and pushes and pushes me and this boy together. So much so that he's like, it's so weird. And this is not going to make a lot of sense, but like, we had a field day and there were a lot of games involved. And one of the games involved like holding hands. And so he would tell the whole band, like, go tell them to go hold hands and fall in love. And so everyone did. They'd come up to us and be like, you guys have to hold hands. You guys have to whatever, whatever. And it worked. He pushed us together. And of course, you spend, I mean, with how much I had liked him in middle school, which is crazy to like think about, but those feelings came like rushing back, and we got to know each other so much just in those couple of weeks that he was like teasing us and stuff, that I really started to like him. So, cut back to one of our first conversations I had with my teacher. He had told me, if you ever want to pursue things with someone your age or whatever, just let me know. And I'll be okay with that. I said, "Oh, okay." So school starts. That first week of school is my birthday. I am a senior, but I'm a whole year younger than everybody else. So while everybody's turning 18, I'm turning 17. So I start my senior year and I'm still 16 years old. I decide that I'm going to tell my teacher that I want to pursue things with this boy. I go into his office and I say, hey, and it feels so much like a breakup, but like at this point, nothing has happened. And I'm like, this is going to be fine. He told me it was going to be fine. It's fine. So I tell him,
Wait, before you go further.
yeah,
Do you feel like you're doing something wrong?
yeah, yeah. At this
Because that
point,
that
yeah,
feels like the anticipation I have as a 16, almost 17-year-old brain, thinking I should be like sheepishly coming
yeah.
into the room and like apologetically saying that I want
Mm-hmm.
to potentially explore dating somebody my own age.
Yeah.
Does it feel that
It
way, or is
feels
that
insanely wrong. It feels so, so bad. I just felt like a horrible person. At this point, I had never broken up with anybody before. I had never like been the person to break things off with anyone. I'd always been broken up with. And so I felt really bad about wanting to pursue things with this other person because I was like, I've been, I had this crush on my teacher for so long. And now here we are. He's confessed his feelings and now I want to go and pursue this boy. Like, what am I doing? But I had decided, I think this feels more right for me. I was thinking in my head, I'm still in high school anyway, like nothing can happen between us. So like, what's the harm in trying to see and trying to talk to this other person? So I walk in there and I tell him, hey, I want to pursue things with this boy. And I was not at all prepared for the way he reacted. He was writing something and he threw his pen down and he says, so you want a little boy? That's what you want. You want a little boy. And then suddenly shifts gears again and he gets very distraught and he's like almost in tears. He's like, I just don't understand. Like, I can give you the world. I can take care of you. I just don't understand what you would want with a little boy. And I start freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And he goes, you know what? I can't do this. I'm going to quit. I have to quit. I can't be around you. And I was like, no, what? Whoa, whoa. What are you talking about? Whoa, stop. And he goes, you know what? I'll do you one better. I'm going to go turn myself in. And I was like, no, please don't do that. And I'm freaking out. And he's like trying to reach for the door, trying to get past me. Again, he has a big window in his office, so people can see this, but nobody says anything. And I'm like, please, like, let me fix this. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Let me fix this. Let's talk about this later. And he says, okay, he calms down, whatever. The bell rings. I got to go to class. So I'm like still hanging out with this boy. We have the same band class together. So we walk in together and we're just chatting. I think we say our goodbyes. And then my teacher comes up to me. He gets in my ear and he says, stop flaunting it in my fucking face. Goes into his office, slams the door. He's been known to be angry. He's been known to slam his door. So when he did it then, nobody questioned it. Nobody said anything because this behavior from him was very, very normal. I was stuck. I couldn't move. I was like, did that really happen? Did he really just say that to me? Like, what? So I go in his office. I'm terrified. I hurt his feelings. The lights are off when I go in there and I can't find him. I'm like, where is he? He is in a ball under his desk,
crying?
crying, holding himself, his legs to his chest, weeping. I am panicked, right? I am like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. What is happening? I'm so sorry. And he's crying, saying like how much he cares for me and how much this is hurting him and all this stuff. And so I sit there and I wait until he stops crying. I like make him feel better. I'm like rubbing his back. I'm like taking care of him. And I get him to calm down. I guess we weren't doing it. I guess we weren't doing anything to stay in band because I was there the whole time taking care of him. I I leave because I have to go to my next class. And then we have after school rehearsal. And by the time after school rehearsal came, the only thing I'm responsible for is setting up my podium because I have a big podium. And so I set it up. I'm like, I get on, I have my hands ready. I'm like ready to conduct the band. For some reason that day, the speakers weren't set up. And so here comes Miss Staff Lady, the ultimate favorite, lugging out these big speakers while everybody else is set. My band director looks at me and he goes, "Why are my staff doing your job?" And he's screaming at me in front of the band. The first time he's ever yelled at me. And I'm freaking. I'm like, what are you trying? And so he's screaming. He's like, "Fix it now." And like, I have to get off. And that the rest of rehearsal, I worked the metronome in the back of, I did not conduct at all that day.
You got demoted.
I got demoted and I couldn't help but feel like I was getting punished for what I had done. So later on, we meet up, and he apologizes. He says he's so sorry. He's so sorry. But the reason why he's acting like this and why it hurts so much is because he loves me and he confesses that he's in love with me and he just wants to be with me. And at the time, while I feel like I would have been happy to hear that, I was just confused because I wasn't there yet. And I was like, so maybe this whole time he was just feeling way more for me than I ever imagined. And I have to be careful with how I need to care for him the way that he's cared for me this whole time. Like, he's been so gentle with me all these years that I've been in band, and now it's my turn. Like, I have to do that. I don't know why I would do anything different. Like, what am I doing? So, I hadn't said anything to the boy. We hadn't confessed our feelings to each other or anything, so I just figured I'm not gonna say anything. We're just gonna be friends and that'll be fine. The next couple of days, he does start giving me gifts at this point because my birthday's coming up. The gifts are pretty weird. I remember at the time I felt like a child when he gave me the gifts because all the gifts were very childlike. I had told him that I really liked Disney princesses, so he got me a Disney, like a very super big, large Disney princess coloring book. Yeah. And I also had said that like one day I am going to collect all the Goosebumps like books because like as a kid I really loved the Goosebumps books. And he bought me a whole collection worth of like the whole collection of the Goosebumps books. And when he gave all that stuff to me, like I just felt like such a child. I was like, "Oh my God, like why would you get me this stuff?" And he would say stuff like, "I don't have anybody in my life. I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. Like, I have money to spend and I want to spend it on you. Like,
You
yeah, I want to get these things for you. Like, I want to take care of you." And so he started getting me a lot of gifts. He ended up getting me a flute, like a green flute, because he was obsessed with How I Met Your Mother. And there's like an episode where there's like a blue French horn or something. And so he knew my favorite color was green. And he's like, "I'm going to get you a green flute because that's super romantic." So, and he ended up getting me a necklace, like a whole bunch of other stuff. So gifts kept coming at this point, like just nonstop. And I asked him to stop, but he said that he wouldn't because this is what he wants to do for me. He wants to do it for me. He wants to do these things for me. So the next couple days, I'm like really confused about my feelings. I didn't like the way that he spoke to me. I didn't like the way he got angry with me.
I think it's tremendously important that we have as many of these little elements, not just focusing in, which is too often what we see in society, that we're all just talking about, crimes rather than,
Right.
wait, there was this big runway
Yes.
before any of that ever happened.
So I, when he told me that he loved me, one, it felt kind of like, what? And then two, I took it all back. Like I took everything that I had said back about the high school boy. I was like, Actually, I don't wanna pursue that. I wanna pursue you, of course, like, I don't even know what I was thinking. Like, I'm so sorry, like, I'm so sorry." Like, it's still the first week of school, so that Friday, we had our first football game. Everyone was treating that day like it was my birthday because my birthday was the day after. It was on Saturday, so since we were on school that day, everyone was like, happy birthday, it's your birthday." And so I met the high school boy, the percussionist that I had a crush on, in the hallway because he would always walk me to my classes. That whole week he was walking me to my classes. And I'm standing there with him and he's telling me happy birthday. And I'm getting kind of emotional because he's staring at me. And sometimes when you have a connection with someone, like, you don't even have to mention that you feel it. Sometimes it's just obvious that you feel it, they feel it. It's just one of those things, and it felt really unfair to stand there with him when I knew that I wasn't going to pursue him. So, I didn't wanna lead him on, and I also didn't wanna lead myself on, so I decided I was gonna tell him, "Hey, I just got out of this long relationship. I'm not looking for anything. I don't know what we are, but I just wanted to put that out there because I just don't think that whatever we are, it should go any further." And he said, "Okay." And that was it. He turned around and he left. And the rest of the day, I don't know why I was so surprised, but he, obviously didn't walk me to my classes anymore. He was ignoring me. He did not make eye contact with me at all. And that carried on into the football game later that night. I'm conducting and we have multiple drum majors and he used to look at me and my hands and like keep time with me. But then he decided, this day he was deciding to look at the other drum majors instead. And I was like, again, don't know why I'm surprised, but yeah, that makes sense. And it hurt a lot, actually. I wasn't expecting it to hurt that much. And it just felt, wrong to really give it up. And I was thinking about what I was having with my teacher, and it just didn't feel as right as I hoped it would. And so we're driving home on the bus ride, and my teacher's sitting in front of me. I'm sitting behind him, and we're conversing through the crack between the seats right by the window. And I decided that I would try again. I wouldn't mention the boy this time. I would just say, like, I don't know that this is right. And so I'm telling him again, like, hey, I don't know that I can do this with you. I'm not, something's wrong, something's off. And I just feel like we should just go back to how we were. Like, you are my mentor, you are my teacher, and I'm your student, and we can be in each other's lives forever and ever. But, he, of course, gets emotional again. He's telling me that he loves me, and we're like whispering. Except this time, he says, "You can't because you're my soulmate." And I had never heard someone call me their soulmate. I had never even heard people like say it in real life. And so it was very overwhelming, very, very overwhelming. But I decided to hold my ground and I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't. So then we get to the school. He storms off into his office. He's like, pacing in his office. Like, I'm getting off with all the other students, and the clock strikes midnight and it's my birthday. So the band is singing me happy birthday, and I can see out of the corner of my eye my teacher, pacing back and forth. And I'm trying to like stay in the moment. I'm like, it's my birthday. It's my, like, enjoy this moment. And then as people start leaving, I go outside and I see the high school boy. And he was waiting for me so that he could tell me happy birthday, which was very nice. And so we're just chatting. He was waiting for his mom to pick him up because he didn't have his license yet. And so I had my card. So I was just kind of hanging around. And my teacher comes outside and he sees us. And there's not a lot of people at this point left because a lot of people had gone home at this point. And so the boy is still talking to me. And my teacher walks right in front of us, going to his car, and he sticks up his middle finger and he says, "Fuck you," really loudly. But I don't know if the boy was just like so in our conversation that he didn't notice it, but he didn't. And so I'm looking at my teacher walking away, and he's all the way to his car, has his middle finger up. And I'm just so baffled, like, what? What is going on? And so the boy looks at me and goes, "Are you okay? Like, what's going on? Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna go home. I gotta go." So I go home. I'm like really anxious to get back to the iPad because I was like, surely something's waiting for me on the iPad from him. So, but when I get home, my parents are still up because they were waiting for me because it was my, my birthday now. And so I actually ended up staying up really late with my parents because they wanted to get me food. They wanted to watch something with me. And so like it was really, really, really late by the time I had like showered, eaten, on all the things. By the time I got to the iPad, it was like a few hours later. And I was so, so, so shocked, yes, by what
It's
was,
full.
yeah, it was full of varying texts from I love you so much to I hate you to fuck you to, you're the worst and all these other things.
How could you do this to me?
How could you do this to me? He was sending me like sad song lyrics. Yeah, it was a lot. And he was saying that he had been drinking. So he was like saying that he was drunk at this point. So I'm trying to call him. I'm trying to get a hold of him. And he answers, he hangs up, he answers, fuck you, hangs up. He's like, keeps answering, hanging up, answering, hanging up. And I'm freaking out. I am just so scared because he started getting suicidal. And he was saying that he was going to kill himself. And so I'm panicking. And I'm trying to get him to stay on the phone. And I'm like, please just listen to what I have to say, please. And finally, at one point, I say, would it help if I came over? And he said, yes.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, great. I'm gonna come over. And he says, actually, no, you shouldn't come over. Wait, yes. Wait, no, don't come over. You shouldn't come over. Because he had roommates. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but his roommates, one of them was the color guard director at our high school. So he was living with him and then one other guy that I didn't know who he was, but one of them was the color guard director. And so I'm freaking out because I'm thinking that he's actually going to kill himself. So I said, I'm coming over. Like, I already knew where he lived because he showed me his house from the outside on one of our drives. And so I knew how to get there. So I was like, I'm coming. I left the iPad at the house because I was like, it's useless because it needed Wi-Fi. And anyway, so I drive all the way to his house. And then I realize when I get there, like, how am I even going to get his attention without like texting him or knocking on the door? And I'm still in my mind very worried about protecting, like, there should be no evidence that we are anything. So I just waited outside his house for maybe 15 minutes because I knew that he knew that I was going over. So I just waited. Nothing happened. So I finally went back home. By the time I get home, it's like maybe 5 a.m., a little after 5. Yeah. And I look at the iPad once I get back and he says, it was just one text waiting for me on the iPad. And it was, I'll be asleep by the time you get here. Don't come. So I cried myself to sleep that night. I was so confused, so overwhelmed, so emotionally drained. I wake up the next day and there's, again, only one text waiting for me. And it was, I'm sorry. I hope you have a great birthday. And I don't remember what I said back. I'm sure I said something like, no, you ruined it. Or I don't know. I was really upset. So I was like, no, you ruined it. Go away. So the whole day, I spent with my family and then I spent with friends. And then the very next day, he wanted to meet up with me. And again, I'm 17 now. And I don't know if you know, but the age of consent in Texas is 17 years old. I did not know that. I really didn't know the difference between consent, like age of consent versus just being 18 years old and like being an adult. So I think in my mind, like 18 means you're an adult and 17, I didn't know there was any significance to it other than I could now buy a rated R ticket, which I was really excited about because I love scary movies. So that's what I was excited about turning 17. Little did I know. He was excited that I was 17 because I could now consent. So I meet up with him the next day and we talk things through. He does what he does. And I am, again, we're back to where we were. And he almost kisses me. And then he says, no, I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. Goes to his car. It was like a movie scene, like it was supposed to be this like romantic moment. Him like saying, I'm not going to kiss you. And then he, goes back to his car and then he comes like walking back like really fast to my car. And he's like, no, I have to. And then he kisses me. So that was the first time like any like real physical contact was made. And I find it so funny as an adult now looking back that it just so happened to be after I turned 17 years old because we had been alone so many times before that. We had spent the whole summer together pretty much. And he hadn't done anything. He had barely even like touched my hand. And now all of a sudden he was, making this big moves. Um, yeah, it's something that in the moment I did not pick up on, but looking back, everything that had happened was very, very strategic, including that moment. So really the next couple weeks are very on and off because if he caught me talking to the boy, he would get very upset, especially if we were at school. He would, it was pretty routine. He would cry. He'd put himself in a ball under his desk like he did that first time, and then I would have to talk him down. So it was just a constant cycle. Like even I couldn't even be friends with the boy, and that was really hard to tell the boy like I can't be friends with you because why? Like I don't have a boyfriend. It would be me saying I don't want to be friends with you because I don't want to be friends with you. And so it was very hard. So I started dodging the boy. I started like taking my time walking from one class to another. Like if I saw him waiting for me, I would hide. It became I felt so bad about it. And it didn't feel good. And every now and again, like if I got to a point where I just thought enough's enough, I would go to my teacher and I would say, can we please just go back to the way we were? Like I very, very much prefer that. And of course, it would be an emotional roller coaster of a ride. So our first competition came. We all had senioritis, all the seniors. And so we would always say like, oh, last first competition, last first football game, last first day of school. And so this one, of course, was last first competition. And so I was really excited about it. Get to massage train, which again, that's the teacher's idea, massage train. But my friends end up like, and so they put the boy right behind me during massage train. And of course, my teacher gets upset. And so I immediately clock it. And so once massage train is done, I'm like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, I got to go fix this. Like I already know. And so I run to him and I was like, hey, like that wasn't me. That wasn't me. And then of course he gets into it's either angry or sad, but there's never like any in between. And so he was angry and was like, no, fuck you. This is what you want. Go away, go away. And we're about to like perform on the field. And here I am crying. And it was okay that I was crying because everyone just thought, oh, she's crying because it's her last first competition. Some of the other seniors were crying. My crying kind of just blended in with all the crying that was happening. And so right before, like, I think maybe 5 minutes later, he comes up to me and I don't know, realizes what he'd done and says, I'm so sorry, like, go enjoy your last first competition. I said, no, I'm not going to because you ruined it. And during that time, somewhere in between all of that, he comes to me and he fixes everything, right? Just as we are in this constant cycle of fixing, unfixing, fixing and breaking and fixing and breaking. And so he had fixed it and we were fine. We get back on the bus. This competition happened to be a few hours away, maybe like 2 hours away from the school. And he had me sit right next to him on the bus, like side by side. And I thought that was an awful idea because I was like, this doesn't look good. And he's like, no, it's going to be fine. Like, just take a seat, sit next to me. And I was like, okay. And across the aisle from us, like immediately across the aisle, is a parent chaperone. And so she's right across the aisle. And my teacher, because it's a long ride, we just performed, we're all exhausted. He covers us with a blanket, like him and I with a blanket. And I'm thinking, oh no, like we're going to get in so much trouble. Oh my gosh. And I don't know if the parent just didn't care or she didn't think it was that bad or whatever she was thinking, but she did not say anything. She definitely saw, but she did not say a word about anything, about the blanket, about us being really cozy together, close and everything. But I decided I was going to go to sleep. I was tired. I was emotionally drained from this roller coaster he has me on, plus, marching 2 times, and I go to sleep. And I guess this was the time that he decides that it's a great time to get physical with me, like as I'm sleeping and on a bus full of kids, like a bus full with kids. And so he touches me down there and I wake up and I just can't move. I'm stuck and I just didn't know what to do. I was really upset with myself because I thought if I had put up some boundaries, like if I had said what I was and wasn't comfortable with, maybe this wouldn't have happened. And he eventually stops. And he gets upset. We finally arrive at the school and he storms off the bus. And I finally wake up and I like sit there until everyone's off the bus because I just like couldn't get myself to move. And I go into the band hall and his lights are off and his door is locked and he didn't say anything. So I try to go in and it's locked and he doesn't say anything. So I just go home. And he doesn't say anything to me that night. It was very odd. I remember it feeling very odd. Like, why is he ignoring me? Like, what did I do? I knew I was very upset and off, but I just didn't know why he wasn't speaking to me. So the next day we meet up and when we get to our spot, he is, of course, panicking and freaking out and crying and saying, I raped you, I raped you, I raped you. I'm so sorry. I can't believe I did that. I'm so, so sorry. And he was, I mean, it's hard to describe how panicked he got. It was very jarring, especially at that age, to see, a grown man, 35 years old, like freaking out like that. And so I just rubbed his back like I always did. And I said, it's okay. Like, don't worry about it. Like, it's fine. Um, don't worry about it. And from seeing him and the way that he was reacting, I assumed because he felt this way right now in this moment that he wouldn't make a mistake like that again. So I was like, you know what? Water under the bridge. He is obviously very sorry for this. There's no need to talk about it or bring it up again, even though I was so, so, so hurt. So we didn't talk about it again. We're kind of back to normal after this for a few days. One of the times we're driving around, he says, I want you to come to my house. Like, I want you to see my house. Like, I want you to see the inside of my house. And I said, that's not a good idea. You have a roommate who also happens to be the color guard director. I think that's an awful idea. And he says, no, 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 it's fine. It's fine. Like, we can just watch a movie, and it'll be fine. Like, we're all adults. Like, we don't enter each other's rooms without permission. Like, we just don't do that. And I said, I just don't feel comfortable with that going into your house. And he says, what if we just stayed in the garage? Like, would that make you feel better if we stayed in the garage?
This guy.
And, yeah. And, for some reason at the time, I was like, yeah, actually that would. If we just don't go in your house, I would feel very good about that. And so he, of course, thought it was a win and was like, yes, I'm going to get her to my house. She's going to see my house. And I thought nothing of it. I was like, oh, we're just going to watch movies. We had talked a lot about movies that I hadn't seen that were his favorite movies and stuff. So I was kind of excited to just hang out and it not be stressful in any way. And so we get to his house. We're in the garage. We're in Texas, so it's hot. It is hot, hot, hot. And I pull out the iPad and we're trying to find a movie in the garage. And he says, hey, it's really hot in here. We should just go
Gotta
up.
go inside.
I'm just kind of a little girl at this point. So I was like, why don't we just turn on the car? And he goes, we can't turn on the car in a garage. What's wrong with you? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And so he's like, you just wait right here. Let me check, see if anybody's in the living room. We can run upstairs real quick. And so he checked, coast was clear. We went upstairs. He starts initiating physical touch again, just kind of kissing and stuff. And I stopped him and I said, hey, because I was very nervous about it getting to that point again. I said, hey, I just want to know, you to know that I don't want anything more to happen. Sex is off the table. I don't really want to have sex. And he said, yeah, of course. I would never want to regret anything. And I feel like I would regret that. So, of course, no problem at all. I said, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Movie keeps going. He's still initiating all this physical contact. And it gets to a certain point where he just says, I want to regret it. He says those specific words. I want to regret it. And then does what he does. And I kind of the same deal when I was on the bus. I was stuck and frozen and very, very, very confused. And I, again, for some reason at that age, was still blaming myself. Like, if I had maybe said something a little different, or I don't know, maybe I just wasn't quite clear, maybe this wouldn't have gotten to the point that it did. And so, yeah, that happened. I ended up going home pretty immediately after and taking a shower, and I just didn't know how to feel. Like, I just kind of sat in the shower and was very, very, very confused about what was happening anymore. But I somehow just still thought, like, maybe I'm not clear. Maybe I'm just not saying things right. So we're kind of in this weird place where I'm like, I guess we're boyfriend and girlfriend. I don't know. Like, we're doing all these things together. And at that age, I'm like, well, if we're doing all this stuff, I guess we're in some sort of relationship. The high school boy starts picking up on something, like something's wrong. And, he kind of starts staying away from the teacher. I had already known that that boy didn't like our band director. And I don't know, I think he was starting to pick up on something. So whenever he saw the teacher like waiting in the hallway, because the teacher now, yeah, he would kind of go the other way, go another direction. But yeah, my teacher started like waiting in the hallway, like between bells to see if I was like with the boy and stuff. So I think he and I got kind of a little bit smarter because we still wanted to be friends. Like, the teacher said that he wanted to make me dinner. Like, he wanted to take me out on a date and like make me dinner. So he invited me back to his house when everybody else was gone. He made me dinner. We watched a movie, and he was like, "My roommates are going to be back, so we should go." And I was like, "Oh, whew, good. We're not going to have sex. This is great." And then he drove me to this very like secluded location. Again, we're in Texas, so and we live in the city, but there's also a lot of rural areas that have like a lot of land and horses and all that kind of stuff. So he drove me out to a place and again initiated sexual interaction. And in my head, I was like, well, all right, I guess, because I guess we're boyfriend and girlfriend, and this is what boyfriend and girlfriends do. So that happened. And then I went home again, and it still felt like something was off. Like, I really, really, really wanted, because again, in between all of this, he's telling me all these lovey-dovey things. I love you. You're my soulmate. You're perfect in every single way. And I'm going to take care of you and all this stuff. So I'm trying really hard to be present and to be everything that he says that I am to him. Like, I want him to be that for me. So I'm trying really hard. I'm like, come on, feel that way, feel that way. So he takes me on a date to the movie theaters, and we went to a movie theater that was a little out of the way so we wouldn't see anybody. The previous weekend was my best friend had a birthday party, and she had invited that boy that I was crushing on. And we had such a great night. We were all like playing around with Nerf guns and had like a Nerf gun war. Like, I felt like such a kid in the very best way that night. Like, it just was the perfect day. And my teacher asks me as we're like in the movie theater and we're whispering and stuff. And he says, "What'd you do for," like, somehow he knew, I don't know, but he said, "What'd you do for her birthday?" And I was like, "Yeah, we had a she had a party." He goes, "Who was there?" The normal suspects, this person. And he goes, "And the boy?" Yes, the boy was there. I was like, I didn't know he was going to be there, but he was there. I didn't know. I really didn't know he was going to be there. I'm sorry. And he stays quiet. And he gets up. Like, the movie probably has like 10 more minutes left. He gets up and he leaves. And I'm sitting in the movie theater like, what do I do? Do I get up? Do I go after him? Do I finish this stupid movie? Like, what am I supposed to do? And so I decided, because again, I was giving me whiplash. I was just crying in the movie theater. So I just cried and I waited for the movie to finish. And I go out and then I see him like driving away. And we came together. And so I see him driving away And I felt like such a little kid. I just started like weeping. Like, why is he leaving me like here? Like, what are you doing? And so he kind of fakes me out. He goes like he's gonna exit, and then he kind of whips back around and he comes to pick me up on the sidewalk. And he gets out of his car and he's like, "Come on, let's go." And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm not going with you." It's like, "No." And he's like, "Yes, get in right now." And we start making a scene at this movie theater. And he's like, "Please, please, please, get in right now." And he's trying to keep it kind of low key. And I'm like, "No, fuck you. You're saying this to me all the time. Fuck you. I'm not getting in the car."
You're really
And
angry at this point.
yes, I am super angry at this point. I'm crying. I'm angry. I'm like pushing him away. And he says, "Please, I'm begging you." So I get in the car, and on the way there, I just kind of rest my head and I let him do his normal thing where he fixes everything. And he fixed it all, and we were back to normal. So we got really, really stuck in this kind of loop. Um, so there is a competition. No, it was a practice, a rehearsal and it was a Wednesday night rehearsal. On Wednesday night rehearsals, we went to our stadium to practice on the football field. We would always get pizza that night because it was a longer rehearsal than normal. And he said, "Hey, do you want to drive my car and go get the pizza?" I said, "Sure." We're back to normal. So I'm like, "Yeah, cool. Absolutely." So I take his car and I grab the pizza and I roll up to the stadium and everyone's already there. And the other directors see this and they're like, "She's driving your car. That's weird." And so the rehearsal is normal for the most part. Nothing happens. It was either that, no, it was definitely the next day. All of the directors, they pull him into his office. So this is all four directors. And I
Including
think,
the color guard.
yes, including the color guard director, his roommate. And basically, they pull him in there to say, "Hey, we saw her driving your car. We don't think anything's going on. We just want to let you know how bad this looks. This looks really bad. She should not be driving your car. We're just worried about you because we want to protect you." And he gets very upset and he ends up storming out of that meeting. I decide it's probably best for me not to chase after him, so I don't. And then whenever I get a moment to find him and talk to him, he says, "Can you believe that? What they said to me? They're accusing me of doing this thing that he's definitely doing." And he's like, "I can't believe them. Like, they're the worst." And he starts talking mad shit on them. And he's like, "They think they can do this without me. They think that they can run this band program without me. They're nothing. Like, he's the reason this band program is the way it is today. And they wouldn't survive if he wasn't here." And so that
So
happens.
does that create a type of crescendo in the dynamic between the two of you then?
We had a competition that following weekend. It was a really bad one, if I remember correctly. Everything that could go wrong with the competition just went wrong. And he was very upset, I think, still about the talk that he had had. And he ended up, after the competition, there is we have the band hall. And then if you exit into the school out of the band hall, there's a long hallway, and at the end of that hallway are two clear double doors that lead to the outside. And in that hallway are the bathrooms. So that's the closest bathroom that all of us kids use. And he went out that hallway. So anybody who was going to the bathroom could see him sitting outside, like sulking. And I saw him, of course, and I was like, "You know what? I'm going to go and see if he's okay." And he goes out there, or I go out there, and I'm like, "What's going on? What's wrong?" And he says, "You shouldn't be out here. You shouldn't be talking to me." And I said, "No, what? Talk to me. Like, you haven't talked to me all day. Like, what's going on? Like, did I do something wrong?" And he says, "I don't know. I don't know that we should be doing this. Like, I don't know." And I think it was because he had just had that conversation with all the directors that now he's changing his tune. And he's like, "I think that one day you're going to wake up and you're going to realize how awful I am for you. And I know it's going to happen. And, you deserve so much better than what I'm giving you." And at this point, because we're so on and off, and I had, my heart, despite all the bad that's happening, like I'm still feeling so, so strongly for this man. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, are you leaving me? Like, what is happening? And he just says, just go. Like, you're, you got to go. Like, you can't be out here with me. And I don't remember if I was standing the whole time or if I sat down, but this was the first moment, because everyone could kind of see us out there alone together. This was the first moment that finally people started paying attention. And well, I guess technically the car ride, and then this happened pretty immediately after that. Now everyone was like, what's that? What is going on right there? And so this was that first moment. The following day, we decided to meet up to talk. It was a Sunday. And I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but I was pretty strong in my faith. At this point in life, I was a very devout Christian, and I was struggling a lot to find out what my purpose was. And he knew that. I talked to him endlessly about how much I loved God, and how much, it kind of bugged me a little bit at the time that he didn't believe in anything, because it just kind of blew my brain. And so that day, he is like, I went to church this morning. I went to church this morning because of you. And I want you to know that I just feel like you fix me. And I know that I don't deserve you, but I hope that you'll love me anyway. You're everything to me. And I hadn't yet said that I loved him back. That was something that was just kind of, he would say to me all the time, but I never reciprocated it. And this was the first time after I heard him say, because he said, maybe this is your purpose, like with me. To fix me. After I heard him say that, I was thinking, maybe this is like, maybe this, like, God placed you in my life. And so I told him that I loved him, and that, I want to be with him, and him and I, like, it's me and him. Like, I know that now. So after that, we started fighting a lot less. Like, he would get upset with me a lot less. He wasn't as insecure as he had been, even with the high school boy. I think me, like, saying that to him kind of really solidified that I was here to stay. And so the ultimate favorite was texting him a lot, and they were always kind of hanging around each other. And she was just always around. And one night I asked him, I said, hey, is there something going on between you two? Or I know that's a crazy question, but, like, is there something? And he immediately is like, no, absolutely not. Like, no, I would never. And then he says, but I do know that she likes me a lot. I do know that.
Oh, for
Do know.
crying out loud.
Yeah. I do know that she feels some type of way about me. So I wanted to be honest with you and tell you that. And the reason I had asked too is because that same day, he would always kind of occasionally bring her up. We're driving around, and I was like, oh, we're almost to my car. Our time is almost done. And he was like, you're so smart. You know who's really dumb? The ultimate favorite. She, like, has no sense of direction. Like, she is just dumb as a doornail. And he would always do stuff like that. And so I said, that was when I asked, like, is there something happening between you two? And then again, he started pitting us against each other, I think. There's no doubt in my mind that he was probably saying stuff about me, just because of how openly he talked about how dumb she was. It was very bizarre. And I started feeling a little jealous, because he just brought her up all the time and was always talking about her. And so then he started having to kind of comfort me and say, don't worry about her. Like, she's nothing to me. We just run in the same group. She's a friend. Like, she's on my fantasy football team. I have a class with this girl who I've known since elementary school. And she says that she's going to throw a party for the senior class. She wants to throw a party. She wants everyone to go. And people can spend the night. Like, it's going to be a big thing. And I thought in my mind immediately, yeah, my parents are never going to let me do something like that. That's crazy. So we're driving around like we do with a teacher. I tell him about it, and he says, no, you should. You should ask your parents. And then if your parents say yes, you should spend the night with me instead. And I said, don't you have roommates? Again, the whole roommate thing. And he says, don't worry about it. You do that, and I will take care of my roommates. Don't you worry. And so I said, okay, I would ask. But I was like, this is a waste of breath because I know my parents. And to my disbelief, my parents say yes. My parents say, we're so proud of you and all you've done. Go celebrate with the seniors and have a good time. So I told him that we're good to go. We can spend the night together. And the sleepover was planned perfectly, that it was the last it would be where the last competition is. So the last competition is on Halloween. And so we go there. It's a couple hours away. I guess the color guard director either had friends or family where the competition was. And so he told the color guard director, oh, have a good time. Don't even worry about, coming back to school. Like, I got you. And so the color guard director's like, oh, cool. Sick. Yeah, I'll hang out with people here. So we drive back. My teacher even mentioned at one point, he was going to get us wine. He was, we're going to have a wine night and it's going to be so fun. I'm going to have you take a drink. At that point I'd only had a sip of my mom's wine before. So he was really excited to show me alcohol. So plan works out perfectly. I end up going to his house, and for that whole night, pretty much, we just talked and talked and talked and talked. We talked about the future, talked about college. We made plans. And he said, we're going to get married. We're going to move away, and we're going to travel the world together. We're going to, do all these different things. And there was something about this night that I finally just let myself let go. And I told myself, you know what, this is it. This is real. Everything that you've ever wanted in life and in love, this is it. It's here. And I was such a romantic, I still am. I just love love. And it just felt like all the stars were aligning, all the pieces were falling into place. And so that night I decided, this is it for me. I love this man. I'm going to marry him. The next day, I spent the night. Next day happens. It's a Sunday. Go home. Normal Sunday. Monday comes, and it's the Monday after marching season ends. So he had a tradition where he always took the Monday after marching season off. So he wasn't at school that day. So I walk into the band hall, and the sun is shining and the birds are singing. I just feel at peace. And then here comes the ultimate favorite and this other band staff person. This other band staff, she was my section leader my freshman year. So she was also a senior when I was a freshman. She was a part of that Air Force One group that he loved so much. So these two approached me, and I was like, what's going on? And so the the other band staff, she says, can we talk to you real quick? Sure. Okay. They pull me into a room with no windows and stuff. And the ultimate favorite is holding herself, and she looks like she's in distress. She is either been crying or about to cry. And I'm kind of freaked out, what's happening here? And the band staff girl asks me, has this teacher made you feel uncomfortable? And I try not to make a face, but in the back of my head, I'm panicking, oh God, they found out, what's happening? And I said, no, why would you even ask me that? What are you talking about? And she looks over at the ultimate favorite. She looks back at me, and she says, when you graduate, he is going to try to confess feelings for you. He did it to ultimate favorite, and he's done it before, and we just want you to be careful. And my whole world, felt like it was all the birds singing and the sun shining all went away. I was so confused and so heartbroken. And so I look at them and I say, can I leave now? And they said, yeah, just wanted you to know. And so I leave. Never skipped school in my life, but I grabbed my backpack and I walked out the door, and I got in my car and I started driving. Me and the teacher had talked about if I ever needed him to text him the word okay and that he would meet me at our place. So I texted him okay. I already knew that he would meet me there. There was no doubt in my mind he was going to be there. So I drove to our place. By the time I get there, he's already there. And he's like, "What's going on? What's wrong? What's wrong?" And so I tell him what just happened. And he starts panicking, freaking out, saying she's a liar, saying, "I can't believe it. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get fired. Like, I can't believe, why would they say that? Why would they say that?" And I said, "Is it true?" He just starts crying. He's throwing himself on the floor. He's doing his normal thing. And this day, I just wasn't falling for it. I was over it at this point because he had lied to me and I was very upset about it. And I'm still there for him and I'm still calming him down. He was getting suicidal, but I was able to talk him off that ledge. And then he said that maybe it's just best if he quits and moves in with his mom. She's in a different city. And I said, "You know what? Maybe that's what's best. Maybe you should go." And he looks at me and he says, "You're trying to get rid of me." Everything that he had just done, all the crying, all the whatever, he says, "You're trying to get rid of me." I said, "No, I'm just trying to help you." He gets up and he storms off to his car. And I'm trying to follow behind. "Where are you going? What are you doing? Where are you going?" And he says, I'm just going." Gets in his car, drives off. And I'm sitting down. I'm like, you know what? I'm not ready to go back to school. I'm just going to sit here. I watch his car drive out of the distance. And then I see his car coming back. He gets out of his car, drives right up to me, holds out his hand, and says, "Give me the iPad." Yeah, yup. And in my mind, I actually wasn't thinking like he was trying to get the iPad back for evidence purposes. I thought he was trying to get the iPad back because that's what happens when boyfriends and girlfriends break up. You give your shit back. And I said, "I don't have it. It's at my house." So he turns around without saying anything, gets back in his car, drives off. I call him on my phone for the first time. "Where are you going? What are you doing?" And he says, "Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be okay. I want you to know that I love you." Hangs up. I think that at this point, I was just so relieved that we were finished that I kind of assumed everything was fine. So I drove back to school. I think we had maybe like 2 periods left in the day. And so I just hung out in the band hall. I was like, I already missed so much school. I might as well just wait. The bell rings for the last class to end. And I walk outside and I'm just kind of standing there and I see the high school boy come out. And he says, "Hey, I've been meaning to ask you, are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm great." And he says, "You know, you can tell me anything, right?" And I think that I was so it was the first time someone had asked me if I was okay, like that whole couple of months. I said, "You know, there might be something, but I'm not ready to talk about it yet." And he said, "Okay, well, whenever you're ready, I'm here for you." I said, "Okay." And I go home. I look at the iPad and was not prepared for what I saw. My teacher had sent me a picture of himself. His arms were all cut up and there was blood everywhere. And his face and everything was in the picture and he looked just very scary. I got so freaked out and I threw the iPad. I just was crying, crying and crying. And then I looked at my phone. I was getting a phone call from the ultimate favorite. I answer. She says, "What did you do? What did you do? What's wrong with you? What the hell did you do?" And I was so overwhelmed. I could kind of hear her and kind of not hear her. And she was just saying, "He's gonna die. Now he's gonna die. And he's leaving. He's getting rid of his stuff. And he's like, oh my gosh." And I'm crying and crying. And all I could say was, "What about me?" And I hung up. I left the iPad on the floor. I didn't even touch it again. I grabbed my keys and I drove to the high school boy's house. And I knocked on his door and his mom answered. I asked her, I'm sure I looked crazy, but I was like, "Can I talk to your son, please?" And so he comes out and I'm crying and crying and crying and crying. He's like, "What's going on? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I At this point, I'm hysterical. I'm like throwing myself in the street. I am so just in pain. Pain was the only thing I could feel. And I don't tell him anything. I'm just crying and he's there and he's holding me. And at one point, he stops and he pushes me off and he looks at me and he says, "Is there something going on between you and the teacher?" And I just start weeping. I'm like, "Why would you say that? Like, how do you know that? Like, why would you say that?" And he is trying to get me to like go inside, like his house. He's like, "Just come inside." And I was like, "No, I can't." I feel my phone vibrating in my pocket and the teacher's calling me. And I look at it and the boy sees it and he goes, do not pick that up." And I said, "I have to, like, I have to. You have no idea. Like, I have to." And he's like, "I'm serious. Do not pick it up." And I was like, just give me one moment. And so I like walk away and I answer it and he says, "What's going on? Where are you?" And I said, "I'm so sorry. Somebody found out." And as calmly as as he could, he says, "Who?" And I told him who. And of course, he just starts, "I hate you. My life is ruined. You're the worst. Fuck you. Like, you have no idea what you've just done." And he's going on and on. And I am, again, still in the street. We're like in the middle of the street. I'm like throwing myself on the floor. And I like keep the phone to my ear and I'm listening to him just give it to me. And the boy comes over and he says, "Give me your phone. Give me your phone." And I'm like, "No, no, no." And he takes my phone and he hangs up. And that was the last time I talked to the teacher. The boy looks at me and he says, "Come inside so we can talk to my mom." I said, "I'm not doing that. I'm not talking to your mom." And he says, "I know this hurts right now, but if you do not tell her, I'm going to tell her no matter what." And he talks to me about it for a little bit. And he finally convinces me to go inside. And I sit down with his mom and he's there. And I can't say it. I can't say anything. And so he tells his mom. And then his mom is like, let's go to your house. Let's go talk to your parents." I said, "No, please." No. And she's like, "We have to go talk to your parents." So we drive over and the same thing again. We're all sitting there together. And my parents at this point are thinking, "This boy got you pregnant." And that's what dad says. He's like, "You're pregnant with this boy." And I was like, "Oh God, you wish." Like, I'm sure that's probably what you're wishing. But I can't say anything. So his mom and the boy start telling my parents like what they know, and my dad calls the police. He did not immediately get arrested. He was they requested, like, the school board or the somebody requested a meeting with him, and he showed up to the meeting the next day with his hands all bloody. They said, well, he needs immediate medical attention, so they took him to the hospital. So at that point in time, I was not grateful for what the boy had done. I was very upset with him. All I had wanted was to protect my teacher. I knew how much he loved me, or that's what I thought, how much he loved me, and all I wanted to do was protect him. So my mom really wanted to protect me after the fact. And she was like, "What do you want to do for school? Like, you don't have to go back. I'm not going to make you go back if you don't want to go back. Like, we can make a plan, whatever." And so I ended up staying off of school, out of school for a few months. And then I ended up transferring to like one of our sister schools for like a month or so. And then my best friend at the time, she was like, "I want to graduate with you. Like, I just want you to know if you want to come back, like, you have so much support here. I'm going to be here for you." Because, it had made the news and he had gotten fired. It was a very public thing. And she was like, "I want you to know, like, you're going to have support here." So I decided to go back, which was a choice. Afterwards, I had heard from a lot of the kids around that my teacher had started friending people on Snapchat, and he was telling them things about me, that I was a liar, that he has a really good lawyer and I don't know what I'm in for and all this like other stuff. I had heard from one person that he said that he was going to get his revenge on me one day. And then I heard other things from other people that were like kind of nice, like, you know, he cares so much about you and all this stuff. And so I was hearing mixed things. And I did find it odd that he was friending people on Snapchat and like actively trying to talk to the band. Like as he had, you know, he'd gotten arrested not even a few months ago and he was talking to kids. And I learned that the ultimate favorite went running back to him to kind of help him. And apparently while all this stuff was happening with him and I those few months, they were technically dating. And so he was cheating on, like, quote unquote, cheating on her with me. So the things that I've learned over the years, so he had been reported multiple times to the administration. I know for a fact, at least by one family multiple times, but I've been told by people that I went to school with that it was multiple girls had and their families had reported him. And I don't know why the administration didn't do anything. Like one of the things that he was getting reported for was texting inappropriately one of the girls, and so I'm not really sure why nothing was done, but he had been reported. I also found out that at one point the principal at the time had pulled him aside because I don't know if someone reported this or if he just heard, but he was hanging out with, you know, those recently graduated girls, and it was a bad look. And so the principal went up to him and said, "Hey, you gotta be careful, man, because those girls, they still smell like high school. So you gotta be careful." And so again, everyone was just like trying to look out for him, like trying to be his bud, like, "Hey, be careful, man." But apparently he had dated a girl who had a former student publicly. So everyone knew about it. So she had graduated years before me. She had graduated and they were dating publicly. I think they even bought a house together, that same house that he was living in. So that was known, and some of the parent chaperones knew that. It wasn't like super public knowledge, like not everyone knew, but enough people knew to where like somebody, I mean just anybody should have said something. So there are two other confirmed girls. The other girls that I've heard about that he had made moves on girls, and you know, they declined his advances and then the parents like report. So I don't know. Another thing I learned at some point, because he always had the staff over at his house. At some point that marching season, my senior year, either a text from me had come in while he was surrounded by staff, or it was either a text came in from me or they saw him texting me at when they were hanging out for their fantasy football stuff or whatever. And the staff saw it. All of the staff. I don't know if the director saw it, but his marching band, like recently graduated staff, they saw it. And instead of being like, "That's weird," all they said was, "This is another," I don't know her name, but the first girl, like, "Oh, this is another Katie situation." And that's all they said. Ugh, another Katie situation. Like, can't believe it. Oh my gosh. So they just kind of laughed and joked about it. So there were a few steps along the way that were, you know, like somebody could have intervened, but nobody did. And I really think it just was because everything was a joke. Like everything was a joke to him. The people that were really close to him, like they see something like a text come in from me and it's just immediately it's a joke, you know? And nothing was ever taken seriously. They just liked him too much. Everyone liked him too much, including the kids. Like when I went back to school, like the amount of times I got called a whore and a slut, like endless amounts of times. People that I had known my whole life, like since elementary school, hated me, wanted no part of me anymore. And I just felt so alone. Like everybody was mad at me that he was gone. Like it was my fault. And so I really started to feel like I like didn't belong here. Like this band program that I had loved so much that I thought that I was like a leader of was not mine. It was still his. So he did end up getting married. He did marry the ultimate favorite. I found that out a few years ago when he got his sentence, which was just 5 years probation. During that time, Texas didn't have any grooming laws, so it was all just inappropriate teacher-student relationship because his record was squeaky clean, or I don't know, but he got 5 years probation and that was it. And now I think with good behavior, his whole record is like scraped. Like you look it up, like you can find the articles, the news articles, but like everything else is gone. And so now he was on the internet for a while and now he's gone. He's not on social media anymore, at least that I know. But the ultimate favorite is on social media and it's public. And so I see her traveling the world with him, doing the things that he said that he was going to do with his wife.
What would you like people to understand about the grooming process?
Like when you're going through that, it doesn't feel like anything bad. Actually, it felt very, very good. So much so that, I thought the world of him. I didn't think anything would ever happen. Everything that I felt was all in my head. It was all me feeling that. So I thought. I was like, nothing couldn't ever possibly happen, but man, I want him in my life forever. I mean, the grooming process feels like love sometimes. It really, really does. Like someone really loves you. And so even through that, right? Because I struggled for a long time looking back at this, thinking like, well, because I did that and because I said that and because I, was in his office all the time or, this, that, and the other, this was my fault. I had told myself that so many times, like, as I struggled through like my college years and struggled through, the last almost 11 years now, trying to figure out what happened, I always came back to, well, it wasn't that bad because there were feelings involved, and that's rare. I had told myself, it's not as bad as all these other articles that you're seeing of, teacher student abuse and all these other adults taking advantage of these young girls and boys, because with you, at least there were feelings involved. But what I didn't know is how common that is. And once I started talking to other people who had, experienced these similar things and reading and listening and watching, I understood how not alone I was. And it was a fact that both helped and hurt me very much. So despite whatever you think that you somehow asked for this, that it was somehow your fault, it's not. It's really not. Because if it wasn't you, they were going to do it to someone else. And even in my case where I thought, oh, I'm going to get married, I'm going to like live life, right? I'm sure the ultimate favorite thought that as well. And then here I came. There would have been someone else after me. He had a pattern. He was doing it. So,
Well, I know that your story will be really impactful to anybody listening to this conversation. And I want to thank you very sincerely for your courage and your honesty to walk us through the high school experience and have such ability to use your adult perspective and the grace that you give that adolescent back then is just palpable in listening to your story. So thank you very much for the opportunity to help someone else understand the grooming process, even when that
mhm.
grooming can also imitate the feelings of love. And I think you did a marvelous job of explaining your experience, and it takes tremendous courage, and I'm very grateful to you.
Thank you so much. And I'm so grateful that you let me share my story and for letting, you have such a very comfortable aura to you. Thank you so much for letting me.